Everyone knows about the most notorious serial killers in history that were mostly caught prior to the year 2000. However, there are many recent cases that the general public might not know about, thanks to a lack of media coverage or the built-up tolerance for shocking cases. Therefore, it's no surprise that so little is known about the cases that have been recently solved and the criminals responsible for them. Number 5. In July of 2010, a string of 3 cases occurred in 3 different locations within an area of Angeles. All 3 victims were found in their homes with their faces covered. The crime scenes show no signs of forced entry or a struggle, and investigators assumed that the cases were connected due to their shocking similarities. This caused detectives to speculate that the 3 crimes were committed by a group of related people, or by the same single suspect. However, those 3 cases only happened to occur within a short time frame, and there are 2 other cases which occurred at 2 different times but consisted of the same circumstances. A woman named Maryse Andronetta came forward a few days after one of the crimes to explain that she was the niece of the victim and had been living with her uncle at the time. Maryse told investigators that she knew who was responsible for the attacks, a man named Mark Dezon, who was a friend of the victims. He'd met them in 2002 and frequently stopped in to help repair electronics or just to hang out. Maryse was able to provide photos of Mark from his Facebook page, which investigators used to track him down. When they found relatives of Mark, they also learned that he was interested in joining the New People's Army, a wing of the Communist Party that focuses on violence. Officers set up a sting to arrest Mark by falsely posing as members of NPA and contacting Mark. They offered him acceptance into the group and set up a meeting place. Mark arrived at the location exactly as scheduled and was arrested on the spot in August of 2010. Once questioned, Mark denied all the claims against him and insisted that he was innocent. He was still charged for the crimes and forced to stand trial. The outcome of the trial, despite Mark's innocent plea, will depend on the judge's opinion of eyewitness reports and crime scene evidence. However, he's still innocent until proven guilty. If he is proven guilty though, he'll be considered a serial killer due to the repetitive nature of his crimes and will likely face life in prison. Number 4. Mohan Kumar worked for several years as a physical education teacher at a primary school. His job ended there in 2003 and his alleged crimes occurred. According to his charges, Mohan spent many years committing crimes in the area of his hometown. The crimes committed across 5 different districts of the city, and the general population was filled with fear and worry as the crimes continued. Investigators instantly connected the cases because they were all so similar. All of the victims were women and were found behind bus stops or in gas station bathrooms. The preferred method of the suspect was cyanide, but rope was also involved. Each woman was found wearing traditional wedding attire that featured stolen jewelry. Even though the cases were similar from the start, authorities took a while to officially connect them and deem the suspect a serial killer. In 2010, after police found a series of crimes occurring within almost the exact same conditions, Mohan was arrested. The phone logs of one of the victims directly pointed officers in Mohan's direction. It was found that DNA collected at the scene matched that of Mohan, and he was arrested for the alleged attacks. At first, Mohan didn't confess to every single crime. However, before his trial came to a close in 2018, he opened up to investigators that he was not only responsible for the crimes that they uncovered, but also for a total of 32 cases. In his confession, Mohan shared the exact details of his work. He would meet a woman and begin dating her for a few weeks. He promised each of them marriage, but would eventually take advantage of them. Then he took them to a bus stop or a gas station, forcing them into their wedding attire. Once at the location, Mohan would convince each woman to take an emergency contraceptive pill that was actually laced with cyanide. A case involving a 28-year-old woman led to him being charged and sentenced to life in prison. A 5th case later came up, and time was added to his sentence. The rest of the cases were still pending as of 2018, but regardless, Mohan will be spending the rest of his life in jail and is now deemed a serial killer. Number 3. From May 2007 to September of 2009, an unknown killer went on a crime spree in which he took the lives of at least 11 female victims. The crime spree caused public concern among the citizens of Cleveland, Ohio. The unknown suspect was deemed a serial killer and given the name the Ohio Stranger. The interesting part of this case is that the victims were not found randomly over the course of several years. Instead, they were all found at once on or near 60-year-old Anthony Sowell's home. In September of 2009, Anthony invited LaTundra Billups to his home for drinks. The next day, LaTundra filed a report with police that while talking over cocktails, Anthony allegedly became very angry and then attacked her. The exact details of the attack are too gruesome to share, but officers reported to the man's home to take a statement. The warrant that was issued allowed investigators to enter the man's home, and while searching, they found 2 women in shallow graves in the basement, 4 women in the crawl spaces of the home, and 4 more women in the backyard. A piece of human remains were also found in a bucket, which brought the total count to 11. Anthony was not home, but was located and arrested the next day. After his arrest, a lengthy trial played out and required countless hours of evidence collection. In addition to these 11 counts, he was charged with another 74 to 83 crimes. In July of 2011, Anthony was found guilty of all but 2 of the charges against him. The jury suggested in August of 2011 that Anthony be sent to the chair. The judge later agreed with the sentence, and Anthony has since been awaiting his fate at a correctional institute. Anthony has filed for several different appeals since 2011, but all have been denied. The public can find peace now that the justice has been served and another threat to society has been removed from the equation. Number 2. We go to hospitals to seek medical care and feel safe. Unfortunately though, even hospitals are a place of risk for some. Dr. Virginia Sousa represented that risk when it was discovered that she was allegedly responsible for over 300 patients losing their lives. In early 2013, 7 patients passed away one after another in a very successful Brazilian hospital. Dr. Virginia Sousa was arrested and charged with the cases after autopsy reports showed signs of foul play. Dr. Sousa was working at an evangelical hospital as an on-call doctor when the 7 patients were discovered. Records showed that Dr. Sousa, as well as several other employees, were the last contacts of each victim before passing away. The doctor denied her involvement when she was arrested, and the charges against her were nothing more than accusations. According to The Independent, state prosecutors claimed that they have telephone recordings that reveal Mrs. Sousa was driven by a desire to clear beds in the hospital for other patients, whose healthcare was funded privately. She allegedly said in a phone conversation, "I want to clear the intensive care unit. It's making me itch. Unfortunately, our mission is to be go-betweens on the springboard to the next life." Investigators found that whoever was responsible for the losses would lessen a patient's oxygen supply or interfere with their medications. It's believed that if Dr. Sousa was guilty, she did not work alone. However, prosecutors see Dr. Sousa as guilty and instead insist that she was the ringleader of a group of employees that worked together to harm patients. Dr. Sousa has denied the claims against her, explaining that she was never careless and had compassion for every patient. After her arrest, 50 more complaints were filed to the medical board concerning Dr. Sousa and the hospital overall. Upon a deeper investigation, it was revealed that over 300 patients had passed away due to malpractice that may have been intentional. It was later found that Dr. Sousa, along with 3 other doctors, 3 nurses, and a physiotherapist were all in on the scheme. And if it turns out to be truly a ring of careless medical professionals, and if the charges are proved to be accurate, it'll make Dr. Sousa and the others the most prolific serial killers in history, with the count measuring higher than that of some previous cases mentioned. Number 1. The Golden State Killer is the name given to a suspect who committed over 163 violent crimes in California between 1974 and 1986. Investigators spent literal decades working the cases that were the result of an anonymous man's actions. The suspect eventually moved locations and different nicknames were given to him, dependent on the area in which they occurred. However, authorities originally thought the sprees were the work of numerous suspects. In 2001, DNA evidence from all the cases were compared, and it was revealed that all of them were committed by one man. In early 2018, the DNA from the cases that had run cold were resubmitted for testing, and thanks to genealogy databases that are now available, a suspect was apprehended. Joseph James D'Angelo was charged with 8 counts in April of 2018. More results later came back from testing, and on May 10th of 2018, he was charged with 4 additional counts. The process began about 4 months prior to an arrest, when databases connected 10 to 20 relatives to the suspect. Officers were eventually able to link this information together and track down the infamous suspect. Joseph was allegedly a suspect for numerous other crimes, but thanks to the statute of limitations, he was not charged. However, 26 still stand against him. Although the alleged suspect has been apprehended, many of the charges against him are still pending as he attends trial. Experts estimate that his trial may take as long as 10 years considering the paperwork and evidence held against him. Additionally, the case will end up costing local taxpayers up to $20 million, which is a small price to pay for justice to be served though. Although we can't confirm Joseph's innocence or guilt until he's found guilty, many investigators, prosecutors, and citizens believe he's responsible. If this is the case, there's some peace to be found in the idea that he'll be locked away for a very long time if he is found guilty. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos. And if you enjoyed this narration, maybe consider checking out my personal channel at youtube.com/ty_knots.